Hello everyone, my name is Mikeisha Brannock. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist with Sound Dietitians. It is June 2020. It is the start of our summer vacations. So today we are going to be talking all about how to plan and prepare healthy summer snacks. Today's presentation will be in two parts. In part one, we're going to briefly discuss the benefits of healthful snacking. I'll share some quick tips for our picky eaters, and we'll review some general summertime snack hacks. In part two, we'll transition into a live action cooking demonstration where I'll show you how to make 3 fun, healthy recipes. Today's featured recipes include a sweet watermelon pizza, a tropical mango ice cream, and a frozen yogurt bark. All of today's recipes are gluten-free, but on your recipe cards I will be providing tips for substitutions to make our watermelon pizza and our frozen yogurt bark dairy-free. I'm really excited about the cooking demonstration. I think we'll have a lot of fun, but for now, let's jump into our discussion. We're going to start talking about some of the benefits of healthful snacking. Healthy snacks can help cover the gaps. There are many factors that can impact how much your child eats at a mealtime. One of the biggest barriers to intake is, of course, picky eating. We all know picky eaters. It's extremely common between the ages of 2 to 5. We're going to talk a lot more about tips for working with picky eaters in the next slide. Another factor that can reduce intake is simply stage of growth. So for kids ages 3 to 5, they tend to have large increases in their appetite and their intake right before a growth spurt, and then a subsequent decrease once that growth spurt is complete. Another factor being environmental distractions. One of the biggest distractions during the summer is playtime. So if you're eating at the beach, at the park, you may find that your children can't quite concentrate on their meals or their snacks because they simply just want to be out in the sun playing. And finally, for kids all the way up to age 10, they're just not able to eat large portions. So offering balanced snacks between meals can help children meet their daily nutrient needs by providing them with lots of opportunities to eat nutrient-rich foods throughout the day. Balanced snacks can also help encourage intuitive eating, or in other words, encourage your child's ability to self-regulate. Research has shown that children have a natural ability to self-regulate their caloric intake. So, when provided with healthful food throughout the day, they will almost always eat enough to meet their energy needs. As a parent, your job is to decide what food and when that food will be served. The role of the child is simply to decide if and how much they will eat. This is the principle of division of responsibility, and it really encourages your child's ability to eat intuitively. All right, let's jump into our quick tips for picky eaters. Tip number 1. Have your child help you prepare meals and snacks. One of the reasons picky eating is so prominent, especially for preschoolers, is that they have a strong dislike of things that are unfamiliar to them. Having your child help you in the kitchen is a great way to give them hands-on experience with foods that they may not be comfortable with. This process not only helps them become more familiar with foods, it also helps them be more excited to try those foods out. Tip number 2, offer choices at meals and snacks. Another reason picky eating is so prominent is that kids have a strong desire to be in control. Offering choices, for example, giving them the choice between broccoli and carrots, helps them feel they're more in control of what they're eating and can get them more comfortable with trying new foods. Tip number 3, offer the same foods for the whole family. It's very important that you are role modeling food to your kids. They're going to be more likely to try something if they see that you and your family are also eating and enjoying that food. Tip number 4, start with small portions. We do not want to overwhelm our kids with large portions of foods that they're not quite ready to jump into yet. So starting with a small portion is a great way to make sure they're not being overwhelmed, they can get a good taste, they don't feel that the food is being forced onto them. Tip number 5, offer new foods first. This is important because if your child is already full by the time you offer them a new food, they're going to be a lot less likely to want to eat it. And finally, tip number 6, be patient. New foods take time, and it takes a lot of time. It may take kids up to 12 times of trying a new food to become comfortable with it. So try to relax in this process. We're generally not going to change overnight, but following these tips is going to be a good way to make sure your child is really becoming comfortable with new foods. Okay, so transitioning into our summertime snack hacks, how to build a better snack. I recommend emphasizing fresh and frozen fruits and vegetables, fruit canned in 100% juice as opposed to canned in syrup, salt-free nuts and seeds, reduced fat cheese and yogurt, this also includes milk, whole grain breads, crackers, and cereals. So I recommend emphasizing these foods because they provide protein, fiber, and complex carbohydrates, which work together to keep your children full and energized throughout the day. On this slide, I just wanted to quickly provide you with a handy-dandy formula to help you think about how to build a snack. So I recommend pairing a protein and fat-containing food with a complex carbohydrate. Our protein and fat-containing foods being nuts, seeds, yogurt, cheese, beans, and tofu, and our complex carbohydrates being fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. So I wanted to provide you guys with some simple ideas for snacks that embody that principle of pairing a protein and a fat-containing food with your complex carbohydrates. So if you look, for example, at the third option here, we have sliced peaches and cottage cheese. Our sliced peaches being our complex carbohydrate and our cottage cheese being our protein and fat-containing food. Note that the ratio does not always have to be 1-to-1. You can pick one protein, fat-containing food and pair it with 2 complex carbohydrates. For example, your crackers paired with your veggie sticks and your hummus. So we have 2 complex carbohydrates there. But feel free to use any of these suggestions for snacks. They're all really well balanced. And you can swap items in or out as go with your taste preferences. For our final snack hack, try out a self-serve snack station. It's a bit of a mouthful, but as you can see pictured here, it's simply a drawer, a box in which you keep your pre-portioned items. So there are sort of 2 ways you can do this. At the beginning of the week, you can take some of your favorite snacks and put them into snack-size Ziploc bags. You can also utilize your favorite pre-packaged items. Mine include cheese sticks, hummus cups, and yogurt cups. So taking these items, putting them all in one place so that they are ready for you and your kids to grab throughout the day. This is great if you do not get to work from home, and also great if you are just heading for a day out and these items are simply available for you to grab. All right, so that is our final tip for the day. We're going to transition into our cooking demonstration. It should start immediately, but if it doesn't, go ahead and press your space bar. All right, I'll see you there.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our presentation here. Welcome to my home. As promised, we are now entering the cooking demonstration portion. So I've picked out 3 recipes that we briefly touched on before. So we are going to do a mango nice cream, the base of which is banana. We're gonna do a watermelon pizza, and we're gonna end with a frozen yogurt bark. So I love all of these recipes because not only do they feature really fresh, seasonal produce, they're also really quick, really simple to put together. So I'm excited to jump in here. We're gonna go ahead and start with our mango ice cream. So, super, super easy. So you can use fresh or frozen mango for this recipe. I'm using frozen, but I did cut up the mango myself and just freeze it overnight. I'm also using a bit of store-bought mango. We're kind of coming into the season where it's getting to the point where some of the fresh fruits are actually going to be a little bit more affordable than our frozen stuff. So I've been getting the fresh mango because I've been finding it at a really good price. So we're just going to dump our frozen mango into our blender here. You can also use a food processor if that is easier for you. You will need kind of a higher powered blender, so this probably wouldn't work in something like a bullet. And next I'm just gonna add my frozen bananas. So it's just 2 bananas that I sliced up, tossed in a Ziploc bag, froze overnight. Just gonna toss those in there. Make sure everything is nice and combined. Mistakes there. Okay, and that is it. So we're gonna put the lid on, we're gonna blend. You may need just a tiny bit of some sort of a nut milk to get it to the right consistency, depending on what type of blender you have. I'm hoping mine is high powered enough to get this all blended through together. So we shall see. And start. Okay, so popping back in, I'm just gonna add a splash of soy milk here. Soy milk is my preferred nut milk, but you can use coconut, almond. I actually think coconut would be a really nice complementary flavor here. And I'm just going to scrape the sides down, push everything in, and we're going to keep on blending away. All right, so we are finally there. I did have to add just a little bit of our soy milk here just to get it kind of going in my blender. If you use a food processor, it's probably going to go a little bit smoother because it just has a little bit more surface area. But I'm excited. This color is beautiful. I'm going to whip out the blade here, and you can already see how thick and luscious that texture is. I'm just going to scrape that good stuff off. I'm going to take my spatula here, and we're just going to scoop all that goodness into our container. This is just a bread pan that I've lined with wax paper. So it's nice and thick. It's this beautiful yellow color, and I will get this up on the screen for you to see. And that is it. It is as simple as that. Both mango and banana are nice and sweet, so no sweetener required. It's thick, it's luscious. And that is our final color. So I love mangoes because they are such a nutrient-rich food. I'm just gonna get a nice scoop here. Beautiful. Scoop it into my bowl. And this is just a little bit thinner than I would probably like it, but that's because I added a little bit more milk than I needed. But it's still totally nice and scoopable. It's that beautiful color. And voila! So that's the final product. But as I was saying, so mangoes are super nutrient rich. They actually have a little bit of calcium, a lot of vitamin A, and a host of other nutrients, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, so really a healthy food. So I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle on chia seeds as my final little touch here. The registered dietitian who developed this recipe actually suggested kind of marketing chia seeds as sprinkles per se. So if you don't know what chia seeds are, I wonder if I can get them close enough for you to see. So they are just little black seeds. You can get them at most supermarkets in the bulk food section. They are super rich in soluble fiber and omega-3 fatty acids. And omega-3 fatty acids play a really important role in not only developing brains, but also in protecting brain health throughout the life cycle. They also have a strong anti-inflammatory role, so really helpful for both kids and adults. So it's kind of fun to use them as sprinkles, but of course you could top with something like chocolate chips. Mangoes have a lot of fat-soluble vitamins, specifically vitamin A and vitamin K. So it's a great idea to add just a little bit of fat to help those vitamins get fully absorbed. So the chia seeds are going to do that, but chocolate chips will also have the same effect. And voila, that's it. So you can store, either finish it off, which is probably what I would do, or you could store it in a container like so. This one has a nice lid, and that is that. So we will move on next to our watermelon pizza. So watermelon is sort of that prime summer fruit. It's juicy, it's bright, it's colorful, it's really rich, again, in vitamin A, which is protective for eye health. It also has an antioxidant called lycopene. So for this recipe, you just need a watermelon. I've already cut mine in half, but you're gonna wanna take slices right out from the center. So we're gonna need a nice round cut to start off with. On your recipe card, you'll see that this, am I gonna be able to talk at the same time? The recipe is for 2 nice thick slices. And when you're cutting watermelon like this, you're gonna wanna make sure that your surface below is really nice and stable. So if you're cutting and you notice your cutting board is kind of shaking, you can get a wet rag, place it under your cutting board, and that will keep everything nice and stable, sticking to your counter. So we've cut a ring like so. It's probably a little over an inch thick, just about an inch, and that's all we need to do. So you have 2 options for this next step. You can either coat with yogurt now, or you can cut it into individual pieces and then add the yogurt. And that just sort of depends on your kind of level of creativity, so say. If you want to make it really pretty, I'd recommend cutting first and then doing all of your toppings. So I'm going to cut first here, and I'm just going to cut it into 6. I'm going to cut it into 6 pieces. Basic math. Am I right? Am I right? So 3 cute little wedges on each side. Do the other side here. All right, so I have my wedges, and now I'm just gonna top each with a little bit of yogurt and our toppings. So earlier in our presentation, we were talking about combining our complex carbohydrates with a protein and fat containing food. So this recipe really embodies that. So our watermelon, which is very low calorie and fairly low carb, I'm going to consider that our complex carbohydrate. And then of course our yogurt is our protein and fat containing food. Today I'm using just a vanilla plain Greek yogurt. So it's a great source of protein, great source of calcium, which is of course very important for our growing kiddos. So I've just used a little dollop on each slice. The amount that you use is really going to depend on the size of your watermelon. I would call this a smaller watermelon, so I'm using a bit less. But it's kind of nice because if yogurt isn't something that you typically keep on hand, you can just buy an individual cup, and that will be more than enough to cover 2 slices. So if this is something that you just want to kind of try for once, knowing you don't really love yogurt all the time, this is a great way to kind of incorporate that in. All right, so you can kind of see it. I've dolloped it on here, and you can spread as you would like. I kind of like it dolloped a little bit, so I'm just gonna do light spread. And then this is kind of the fun part. This is a great place where you can include your kids, especially if they are sort of more artsy and creative. You can really top with whatever you want. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do strawberries. I have some blueberries, and I have a little bit of mint and some almonds. So parents, if you are looking to kind of elevate this snack, I think this would be great for a luncheon, kind of a girls' night out. It's a great, easy appetizer. Adding a little bit of fresh mint is a great way to kind of elevate this dish, make it really elegant. And you can put on as much fruit on this as you would like. Just putting, one piece of each, yummy, to make it look a little bit more cute, a little bit more presentable. But, when you're hungry, sometimes the extra blueberries really are necessary. I'm gonna do 2 because I love blueberries. And then just a dollop of almonds. So the almonds are also contributing some protein and some fat. A little bit of crunch I found really pulls this dish together. Alternatively, you could do chopped walnuts, you could do chia seed, you could do flax seed, whatever floats your boat. No nuts if you're not like that. The yogurt has the protein and the fat, so you don't necessarily need nuts, but it's a great healthy addition, especially if your kids aren't super familiar with nuts. It's a great way to start incorporating it into their diet. And lastly, fresh mint. Fresh mint is now in season, which is, well, it's at the beginning of its season. So I pulled this from my garden. I'm just gonna sprinkle 1 little leaf on each slice. And that is it. Voila. So I'll hold this up. See if you can kind of see it there without spilling it. So that is the final product, and this is just a half batch. The recipe card you'll see is for 2 slices. Easy to serve. It could be a great party food. It really can be whatever you want it to be. All right, so on to our 3rd and final recipe today. We have our frozen yogurt bark. And I'm gonna kind of collect some of the stuff here. So, frozen yogurt bark. This is a new recipe that I've recently discovered that is really taking kind of the food world by storm, but super, super fun, really easy to make. So again, I'm just using plain reduced fat yogurt, unsweetened. You can use vanilla yogurt if you prefer. Today I'm just using plain. So for that reason, I'm adding a little bit of vanilla to it. So to make, all you do is you add, it's about 1/4 teaspoon of lemon juice. I'm adding a little splash of vanilla already mixed in here. Pour that in. And then we are using a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. You can use honey in replacement of the maple syrup. That's totally up to you. Just note that honey is not going to mix in as well. It sort of thickens with the yogurt, so it doesn't have as uniform throughout, but it's still going to taste good. And if that's what you have on hand, totally great. I do recommend using real maple syrup over a corn-based syrup, something like Mrs. Butterworth. So I just recommend this, but if you have the other stuff on hand, feel free to use that. It's not going to change the nutritional components too much. And that is it. So that is our base. So you just whisk it all up till it's nice and smooth. Everything is mixed in like so. And then you're going to take a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Parchment paper or wax paper, so I'm using wax paper today. And we are just going to pour our yogurt onto the sheet here. Like so. You can pour it right into the center. I'm using a full-size cookie sheet, so it's not going to quite fill up the whole sheet. This is also just a half batch because I've already prepared a batch so you could see the end product. But even if you do the full 2 cups, I don't think it's going to quite fill up a full sheet tray like this. So don't worry if you pour it out and realize, it's not filling up your thing. So it doesn't have to be pretty squares. It can be kind of more rustic edges. that totally works. The goal is to just get a nice thin layer going. So I'm gonna kind of just spread it out in the center here till it's nice and even. Okay, voila. So nice thin layer. Try to give it as even as possible, as long as it freezes. That's the most important part. So now we are free to do our toppings here. So on your recipe cards, I've included some suggestions for toppings, but it's really whatever fruit you want. You can do cereals, you can do nuts, you can do seeds, you can do chocolate chips. Really anything is free game here. So I'm just gonna set some strawberries on. And again, this is another great place for your kids to get involved. Just get creative. It can really be, you know, as artsy or as rustic as you'd like it to be. Right now I'm going for more rustic because I did a more artsy fartsy one earlier. So I'm doing strawberries, blueberries, and since it's a nice thin layer, you don't have to press anything in. You can kind of just spread on there as you'd like. And I'm gonna swirl in some blackberry preserves here. This is another really cute artsy thing. So I'm just taking, you can use a toothpick. I have a little wood skewer that I'm gonna use, and I'm just dipping it into my preserves. And then I'm just gonna swirl it all along. I'm not sure if you can see the details from here, but I will show you at the end. Do a couple more swirls. And voila! I'm also going to go ahead and sprinkle on some flax seeds. So flax seeds are similar to chia in that they're a good source of omega-3 fatty acids and soluble fiber. And I'm just going to sprinkle that on top to give it a little bit more texture, a little bit more of that artsiness. You could also do chia seeds, chocolate chips. That would be great. And voila! So, final product. Everything's gonna move when I show it to you because the yogurt's not frozen yet, obviously. So that is kind of what it looks like before. We'll go ahead and put it in the freezer for about 2 to 3 hours. Mine took roughly 2 hours to cool down. And then when it's finished, you're gonna wanna let it sit for about 5 minutes before you cut into it and then serve immediately. It's gonna be a bit of a messy snack because it sort of melts really quickly, but there are a couple of other solutions. So if you're feeling like you don't have a lot of freezer space, you can also utilize a muffin jar. A muffin tin. So you can fill little muffin cups with the yogurt, do the same toppings, or you can mix them in and freeze it that way. You can also just spread on a paper plate. So this is great if you have a little bit less room. Just doing exactly what we did, putting our frozen yogurt on the plate, topping it, decorating it, and then just throwing it in the freezer, and you can pull it out when it's done, and then you can just flip it over and push it out, as opposed to this where we'll kind of have to cut and feel along there. All right, so I'm gonna pull out my finished product, which my lovely assistant just pulled out of the freezer for me. So this is what we're looking at towards the end. And I will include some pictures so you can see it a little bit closer up. But I went ahead and cut it into about 8 pieces. Make sure it comes up here. Mine is sticking just a little bit to the parchment paper. No, actually it's great. And voila, that is the final product. Totally eatable. And you can make this, you know, as cute as you want. So really you can mess around with the colors, the textures. It's really great, but it's kind of melting on my hands. So it's definitely a quick serve with a napkin. And voila, that is it. These can be stored in a Ziploc bag in your freezer for up to a week. Alrighty, gang. So that is it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you learned something new. I hope you've gotten a couple of fun ways to make snack time easier on your family. I hope you can try these recipes out. Whatever you do, definitely enjoy the sun, enjoy some fresh fruits, enjoy some fresh vegetables. Oh, but wait, I wanted to give you one bonus recipe before you leave, watermelon juice. Really, really simple. If you're pretending that this base was clean, so all you'd have to do is scoop out your watermelon, put it into your blender, blend till it's all combined, and then pour your juice through a strainer like so and into a container, and voila, you have fresh watermelon juice. So bonus recipe for those of you who stayed till the very end. I hope you had a great time today. I wish you all the best going forward into the summer, and we'll